welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of our show, Pop Culture, where we try and we hit the street, we get some of the people's views on some of the issues that are facing our society or our community every day. And then we see what they think, we try to get some expert advice. Today, we're going to discuss addiction. We hit the streets, got some interviews downtown Toronto. Have a look. What are some of the negative effects that addiction is having on our generation?
I think that moderation is important. You can smoke weed and drink on occasion, but it's important to know the outcome of that. If you do it too often, it's important to know how it's going to impact your life and loved ones.
For sure, addiction. I mean, I feel like schools and your surroundings have a big part of that. When schools educate you on sex, on personal education, health, it's always a great way where the teachers kind of let them know what's real, what's out there. You can't always shelter your children. Can't tell them that everything's great, but really, it happens, right? There is addictions out there. But yeah.
I come from up north originally, in mining towns for the longest time. There was nothing else to do, so people just drank alcohol and got really drunk, and there was that type of addiction. Now there's just more access to different types of things to be addicted to.
We are too busy or we are too boring, so we need to do something to be distracted or something. Because life's pressure is hard.
A lot of changes that have happened in society that change the way people are under pressure and change the way people are stressed. And mental illness is a lot more common right now. And addiction and mental illness tend to go hand in hand. But I think it also has to do a lot with the fact that we neglect mental illness. And so we fail to address the root cause. So you look at the war on drugs in the States, started in the Reagan era. Ultimately drug consumption has gone up since the war on drugs happened, but mental illness has also gone up. So we address the symptom instead of the root cause. The root cause of addiction is generally mental health, but we go after drugs instead of going after mental health, which is the wrong approach to it in the first place.
What addiction does is it puts you in a circuit, in a cycle. And every time people, they see the immediate gratifying effects of addiction, so they do a drug or they drink, and then they feel the consequence. And as soon as you feel the gratification, some people like it so much that they go through the cycle faster and faster and faster.
I think education is the most important thing. I think if you teach it to kids when they're younger, they're going to realize that, certain things can be addictive and have addictive traits. And by teaching it to younger children, they're going to know growing up that, to be cautious about certain things, and, maybe once you're entering a territory that could be dangerous.
I think it's, in the end, it's up to everybody themselves, because in the end you're always responsible for yourself. You can't blame your parents, you can't blame the government, you can't blame anyone unless you do something for yourself. Like in the Terminator 2, they say it's no fake but what you make. So I think that's true.
You just have to make the right choices, and if you're educated, then you'll know what choices to make. And you'll know what to, go for and what to not go for.
I think you need to start in younger children and teenagers and put a focus on mental health in schools and education. And how do we support young children and identify mental health issues early and at a young age so that we can address them before they become problematic as adults?
I think if you can do things good and do such things, have such cell phone addictions, I think it is okay. Only if you do your own things, you do it right.
I think it's just not talked about enough. People need to talk about it more to bring awareness like you guys are doing.
Jesus is the foundation of everything, because he doesn't leave me or forsake me. He is love manifest, and so he's always with me, and everything else that comes after that is built on this idea that we can love someone purely, that we can have a relationship with another person that is not about gain, but it's just about mutuality, loving the other person.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed some of the interviews there, where we started to discuss addiction a little bit. Today we have with us our very own Ramez Musa from San Francisco. He's been a servant close to 20 years amongst the youth, very well versed and familiar, and he deals with such issues all the time. Ramez Musa has agreed to finally join us. He's an engineer at Apple, California, and he is, again, involved and he's hands-on. We welcome you to our show, Ramez. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Don. It's actually my pleasure to be here today. I don't deserve these wonderful compliments that you've said, but it's my pleasure and my blessings to be on the show today.
It's a blessing to have you with us. Today we want to discuss addiction. We want to see what do you think of addiction and how it's rapidly growing and different sorts and kinds of addiction.
Yes. So again, addiction is a very, very important topic, but I want to start off by saying that, as always, in every topic, the Bible teaches us to love, always to love. Love the sinner, no matter what it is, no matter what the sin, what the sin he's committing or she's committing, we love everyone. This is the message of the Bible. Now, with regards to addiction, the Bible is also very, very clear, because there's no such thing on this earth that should have dominion or control over us. And anything that has control of us or on our bodies or on our thoughts is an addiction, whether it's drugs or alcohol, or I'll be honest with you, even coffee. If somebody's addicted to coffee, that's an addiction. That's something that has an addiction over us. And the Bible is very, very clear in what it teaches us on addiction. No such thing should have dominion over us.
In Christianity, what is the main issue with addiction? Like, what is the primary problem with addiction in our lives?
Yes. So the primary, and when I'm talking about addiction, I'm talking about anything. Like I said, anything that has control over you, whether it's drugs, alcohol, anything. The problem is that when things start dominating over us and start having dominion over us, then we're not really in control of the situation, and it can start driving us and obviously taking over parts and aspects of our life, which is very, very dangerous. And the Bible wants us to be in control. I actually know people that unfortunately that are dealing with addiction in many paths of life, whether it's drugs, alcohol. Unfortunately, a few cases specific pop in mind, but it's very, very, very unfortunate, because I see it taking over their life and taking over, controlling them, and again, separating them more and more from God, which is very, very sad.
Now, in our desire to return to God, and in our struggle, how can we kind of protect ourselves from falling into into a trap like this?
So, do you mean to say somebody who's addicted already?
Yes, yes. Or no, somebody, as a preventative.
Yeah. So this is a very, very good question, and we actually have to be very, very, careful. Our body is the temple of the Lord. So we have to protect this temple in everything. So all of our senses, whether it's our sight, our smell, our mouth, our ears, our touch, all of our senses have to be protected. So that means we have to be very, very careful who we select as friends. We have to be very, very selective, because with friends especially, show me your friend and I'll show you who you are. It's very, very clear. So you have to protect yourself, and protect yourself socially, at church, at work, with all your senses, making sure that everything is secure. You need to put a shield around you, making sure that you're not, objecting yourself or allowing yourself, to become exposed to that. Because Satan is very clever. It's very, very clever, and nothing, and don't ever think that you can, play with fire and not get burned. So the idea is to be very, very protective over yourself. Protect all your senses, all your friends, everything around you. So around yourself, with the church, with with your father of confession, with your spiritual advisors, with people who care about you, and cut off anything that could take you away or separate you from Christ.
Excellent, excellent. So the second half of that question is, now that we kind of know how to kind of prevent myself from falling down that path, how can I kind of help someone that I see that has unfortunately maybe the world or some sort of circumstances has brought them down this path?
So this is a very, very good question, and I'll speak about my personal experience. What I feel that from all these situations, unfortunately, I've met a lot of people who are addicted, and what I feel like, there always seems to be an underlying problem, an underlying issue that they're struggling with. It could be, a lack of love. you know, perhaps they weren't getting enough love at home, and you know, they started seeking love in other ways. They weren't getting enough attention, or perhaps you know, financials, you know, had driven them to be like that. It could be the death of somebody in their family. So I think step one is to identify exactly what the cause is. You know, what happened in that person's life that has led them to this. And once you've identified the problem, you can start dealing with the problem. You know, if it's, for instance, a lack of love, you can give that person love. The Bible is love. God is love. So you can provide them with love, provide them with the attention, you know, as a genuine friend, you know, surrounding them with people who genuinely love them and who want the best for them, whether it's other servants or friends. So you supplement something that is missing. If it's financial, you know, for instance, you could help them find a job, right? For instance, help them find a good job, a well-paying, rewarding job. You know, get their career back on track or their life back on track. You know, kind of like through you know, through networking or whatever it is, you know, try to get them back on track. And again, if it's the loss of somebody or anything like that, like one specific case that I personally know of, again, you can, you know, help them, you know, get back by supporting them, by giving them the love and the attention. But in all this, from my experience, there's one thing that I learned, that this all has to be done through love and through prayer, continuous prayer. And I'm saying about prayers every single day, day in the morning, at night, you know, obviously before work, after work, or before school, after school, while you're walking into class or whatever it is, continuous prayer. And you know, especially when you ask all the other people to pray with you, it's even more powerful, because through prayer everything is possible. Without prayer nothing is possible. And even if you accomplish something without prayer, it's way more powerful. And when God is, you know, is in the middle, and that's what it's about, just praying continuously for them.
Excellent, excellent. Now, what do you say to all maybe the youth or the young adults alike that have certain little addictions coming up? Let's say to their smartphones or to any sort of devices, any sort of habits, and the little things that are creeping up into our lives that are taking our attention away from God. They're very subtle, but they're increasing in number.
Yeah, so that's actually, you mentioned a very, very good point, which is, again, like cell phone, it's, you know, unfortunately,
you see it all the time.
You see it all the time. Yeah, it's very addicted. I mean, you see kids who are sitting there playing on their phone for hours, whether it could be like video games. And my advice to them is, do not let anything have dominion over you. So you need to have through prayers, that person needs to pray continuously and ask God to help them overcome whatever the sin is. Through continuous prayers and through fasting and asking the Lord and working with others, you start putting limits between you and whatever it is that has dominion or control over you. And it could be something by, you know, for instance, at one point I feel like I was addicted to coffee. I used to love coffee, and I from my personal experience and speaking to everybody, you know, it was during Lent, I prayed continuously for it and I asked the Lord to please help me get over it. And it was a very methodical step. It was very tough. It took a long time to kind of, you know, yeah, get over it. But speaking from experiences, everything is possible, and just delay, you know, starting very, very, you know, like in stages, yeah, incremental.
Amazing, amazing. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've been advised by our expert Ramez Musa. We have to be more diligent, and we have to be careful and start to prevent these addictions from the very beginning. The earlier it is, the better, before the habit forms and then takes more and more dominion over us. We thank you so much for joining us, Ramez. We learned so much. It's always a blessing being along your side, helping us out. Keep us in your prayers always, and thank you, everyone.